Hi and welcome. You're watching Now Showing. I'm Atika Farooqui. How was Diwali? Mine was fabulous. And this is the show that talks about the cinema and the best from the world of cinema. Let's begin, as always, with the highlights. This week's recommendation is Good Will Hunting, a film that will make your weekend worthwhile. Emraan Hashmi, the antagonist of Tiger 3, describes the most memorable scene from his film. Meet the real-life and real-life hero of film Pipa, a film based on Indo-Pakistani War of 1971. And Javed Akhtar talks about writing songs for Zoya Akhtar's The Archies and talks about royalties for songwriters and composers. Let's begin the show with this week's recommendation. In the vast landscape of cinematic brilliance, certain films stand out, not just for their storytelling prowess, but for the emotional impact they leave on us. Good Will Hunting, directed by Gus Van Sant and released in 1997, is one such masterpiece that continues to resonate with viewers across generations. This compelling drama not only showcases the raw talent of its cast, but also delves into profound themes of self-discovery, intellect, and the transformative power of human connection. Good Will Hunting revolves around the life of Will Hunting, portrayed by the exceptionally talented Matt Damon. Will is a janitor at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology who possesses an extraordinary gift for mathematics. Discovered by Professor Gerald Lambeau, played by Stellan Skarsgård, Will is given the opportunity to break free from his troubled past and reach his full potential. The heart of the story lies in Will's internal struggle. Despite his unparalleled intellect, he grapples with a troubled past marked by abuse and a lack of guidance. His journey towards self-realization becomes a poignant exploration of the human spirit, addressing themes of identity, class struggle, and the pursuit of happiness. The film's emotional depth is further enriched by the relationships Will forms with those around him. Robin Williams delivers a poignant performance as Dr. Sean Maguire, a therapist who becomes a crucial figure in Will's life. The scenes between Williams and Damon are particularly powerful, showcasing the emotional intricacies of the character. Additionally, the film features a stellar supporting cast too, including Ben Affleck as Will's best friend, Chucky, and Minnie Driver as Skylar, the woman who challenges Will to confront his fears and aspirations. The chemistry between the characters adds layers to the narrative, making it a deeply, deeply human experience. And at its core, Good Will Hunting is a story of self-discovery and transformation. Will's journey from a troubled janitor with a troubled past to a young man on the brink of realizing his potential is both heartwarming and very, very inspirational. The film encourages viewers to reflect on their own journeys and the power of resilience in overcoming personal demons. The film further explores the delicate balance between intellect and emotion. Will Hunting's genius mind is contrasted with his emotional struggles. Whether you're a fan of heartfelt dramas, a connoisseur of exceptional performances, or someone seeking a profound exploration of the human condition, Good Will Hunting is a cinematic gem that deserves a place on your must-watch list, particularly this weekend. And now let's come back to the film that had released last week. Tiger 3, the action thriller film directed by Manish Sharma, is a sequel to Tiger Zinda Hai and is the fifth installment in the YRF spy universe. Tiger and Zoya are framed as traitors by an ex-ISI agent named Atish Rahman, where they go on a life-threatening crusade to clear their names. Now here is Emraan Hashmi, who plays that antagonist and talks in detail about getting into the skin of his character.
I think it's very important for any antagonist, it also could be the protagonist, it's the origin story of what actually is the defining moment in that character's life, of why he or she is the way he or she is the most important. So I think for Atish, it is the prologue, the backstory of the incident in his life, why he becomes the way he is, why he wants blood, why he wants to take revenge from Tiger and Zoya. So I think that was a very powerful and defining scene in the film. I had to go through an immense physical transformation for the character. Although there isn't much of the quintessential showing abs and the body, there are a few shots in the film, but just a physical form and agility was very important for the character, because ultimately there's also this physical combat. Because he's an agent, it was very important to have a certain overpowering physical transformation for the character. It's my intent that even though the character might not be likable, at least after seeing an antagonist that I'm playing, you realize that, okay, he probably, in his own life journey, in his narrative, he was right, because there are certain incidences that happened to him that made him a little more human, not just an unidimensional villain. That's always the intent. And I would never play a character where it's just that unidimensional villain for the sake of being bad. I mean, if it's a different part, Atish would be Atish, but obviously we would have to bring in some interesting facets and new facets of the character. So yeah, it would be the same journey. Obviously, some things would change, but yeah, I would love to play Atish again. Well, I always, I want to thoroughly know and be convinced if I'm playing the antagonist, because I have played so many, characters that are protagonists in films. I've done a few films where I played the antagonist, but for me to be driven to play that, the story of the antagonist has to be extremely appealing. Probably an interesting journey, an interesting character arc. These are very, very important aspects. Or then it should be like I wouldn't say a likable antagonist, but yeah, kind of badass in his own way, and there has to be some appeal to it. No, playing the antagonist, if it bothered me, I wouldn't end up doing this. It's just that I need to know if the character should have an interesting arc and journey. And that's when I am on to play the antagonist.
And now here is another thriller. Pipa, released recently on Amazon Prime, is a biographical war film based on the life of Captain Balram Singh Mehta of India's 45 Cavalry Regiment, who along with his siblings fought on the Eastern Front during the Indo-Pakistani War of 1971. It is an adaptation of real-life events during the Battle of Gharibpur in 71 and is directed by Raja Krishna Menon. I met up with the captain, who's now Brigadier Mehta, and Ishaan Khatter, who plays him, Soni Razdan, who plays the mother, and director Raja Menon. Brigadier Mehta, welcome to Mumbai. I'm told that you don't live here.
Thank you.
And I have had a very close association with the armed forces. I grew up in a cantonment. Sir, it's your book called Burning Chaffies, जिस पर ये film बनी है. Now, Siddharth Roy Kapoor and Ronnie Screwvala are two very reputed names in the film industry, very trusted. So tell me about the relationship between you and them. Did they find the book or did your book find them?
The book found Siddharth Roy Kapoor.
Okay.
And after he read it, along with the rest of his family, they invited me to Bombay. We met over lunch. And the first 15 minutes, after two questions, he was clear in his mind that this was a story just had to be told.
I must say your style of writing must have been very dramatic, as were the circumstances too.
I think the good part of the book is that I'd made a promise to my tank crew immediately after the Battle of Gharibpur, while we were sitting around that particular evening on 21st November, looking at these 14 tanks which are burning.
Right.
And that is how the name Burning Chaffies. And the commitment made was that one day I will record their bravery.
Raja, let me come to you. I had really liked your film Airlift.
Thank you.
Now, when you get a source material like this, first practically half the war is won because you have great source material. You have that ecosystem and the atmosphere right now where these kind of films are lapped up, and there is an appetite for these films. When you get a story like this, what were your biggest challenges? Because I could feel that you're not trying to pander to the atmosphere and just tell a story.
I think it's very simple. I've read accounts of the 71 war from all sides. I've read stories from written by Pakistani general who didn't back off from Jessore. I've read, of course, Brigadier's Balram Singh Mehta's book. The army actually has a great respect for bravery, and oftentimes you'll hear them say they fought bravely. One of the greatest things that we did actually as an army, as an Indian army, was we protected the 93,000 people, the Pakistani soldiers who surrendered from the anger of the Bengali people.
Yeah.
When you say an army officer and a gentleman, that's what it means, to be able to stand for what's correct and what's right. We were not attempting to make a film for commercial success. We were making a film which is telling a story in the best possible way, to be entertaining, to depict a certain time. And I think cinema often does that, where because it's the most easily accessible source of history, it becomes history. I think there's a responsibility towards that in trying to be true to it. The attempt has always been to be honest, to be true.
I know what is Pipa, but would you like to tell the people what is Pipa?
Please.
You can now describe it.
Well, Pipa refers to the PT-76 tank that was a Russian tank, and its most effective use was in the 1971 war, where we were able to get across the riverine terrain. The terrain was full of water.
Of course, yes.
And we were able to attack with the element of surprise because we had these tanks. They were not expecting tanks to be on their side. And we could only do that because these tanks can swim on water. They can float, and they can, and of course, operate on land as well. Like he was saying, they did a big showcasing of the abilities of this tank.
Yeah.
There were Sikh troops, there were many other infantry troops as well, and they saw it, and one of the soldiers remarked, you know, Pipa tair raha hai. You know, and because that's the only identification.
मतलब वो तेल का टिन का डब्बा जो होता है, he compared it with that.
पानी पे तैरता है, बिल्कुल वैसे हमारा पिप्पा इस फिल्म में तैरते हुए लड़ते हुए आगे बढ़ता है.
That's a lovely way to humanize a tank.
And then it felt very much like a human being. You know?
Humanize, and also it's a character in the film, and also it became the code name in the army, if I'm not wrong, for the tank.
In the general.
Ma'am, let me come to you. I had loved you in Razi. उसमें कुछ ऐसे ही जोन था जिसमें आप अपनी बेटी को देश के नाम कर रही थी एक तरह से, यहाँ आप अपने बेटे को देश के नाम कर रही हैं. And I'm also a part of a WhatsApp group which is dedicated to the mothers of the martyrs, Kargil martyrs particularly. While the sons have laid their lives for the nation, but the women, those mothers, are so soft. When you meet them, I think they all even look like you. There is don't you think, sir? Don't you think, sir? The army wives, the mothers are such beautiful vibes I get from them.
Something about that you said, I got goosebumps.
Yeah, if you just meet them, you would realize that. But that is just an observation about that, ma'am. So many years in the industry, and one thing that is so admirable in these days is that women of your age who've spent 30, 40 years, lovely experiences and the years in the industry are getting so much work. Yes. And people like me are more attuned to seeing you and the expressions that you give as opposed to the younger ones maybe, you know, because you hold the screen, you hold the frame, the camera. What do you think of the industry, the films being made these days, the kind of where the entertainment scene is going, films? What do you have to say about that?
I feel it's on a fascinating trajectory. We are throwing up writers and directors and actors who are now streets ahead of everything that, you know, has come before them.
Yeah.
Having said that, I feel the earlier films also were so good without all the, you know, the props that we have today to make things more effective looking and, you know, all that. So storytelling as a whole is part of our collective, you know, heritage. Yeah, it is. Human beings are storytellers, natural storytellers. But I think in our country particularly, we have so many stories to tell. And what I'm loving about today is that they're all starting to come out. They're crawling out. Earlier they were all, this angry young man and then this and then romance and then that and it was, socialist
Less
and
of
whatever,
story
whatever.
and more of drama.
Now we're getting all kinds of stories and that is the beauty. Now we've got not just a bouquet of flowers, we've got a full valley of flowers.
Yes.
So I think that is now this is the most exciting time to be an actor. And I can tell you, I'm not going to miss out.
I know of so many 18 and 19-year-old boys and girls who've been wanting to go to NDA and getting into army and, the whole life changes after you spend those 3 years in the academy. And given the amount of time that you had to prepare, I don't know how much was that. So tell me about those first 6 months after you said yes to the role and how did it change you as a person?
The impact that this experience has had on me has been immense. We had the privilege of being able to train.
Where did you go?
We were in 2 cantonments, one in Suratgarh and one in Ahmednagar. They put us through the griller and it felt like a lifetime lived. It's a privilege and it's a rare honor to have
He
the
was
person.
26 when he did that and you're about the same age.
Yeah, that's true. I'm glad you know that. I mean, it's also, I think, a rare case of age-appropriate casting that we don't see in war films, especially in our country.
And we are headed for a short break, but after the break we have one of the finest poets and songwriters of all times. He's an activist, he was a politician, and now he's just written the songs for his daughter Zoya Akhtar's film, The Archies. I have shot so many interviews, chat shows with Javed Saab in the last 20 years, and I have learned the best pieces of wisdom from him. So I had once asked कि the writer who wrote the beautiful song of Silsila, देखा एक ख्वाब तो ये सिलसिले हुए, दूर तक निगाह में है गुल खिले हुए, ये गिला है आपकी निगाहों से, फूल भी हो दरमिया तो फासले हुए. Also wrote, दिल में मेरे है दर्द डिस्को. How is it possible for one poet or writer to write both the genres? And the answer that he gave was phenomenal. I guess that must be on YouTube, internet, just check it out. It's a fabulous answer that he gives. Also he says कि जिस समाज में माँ पूजी जाएगी उसमें तो औरत का बुरा हाल होना ही है. Now think about it. उसका भी जवाब आपको इंटरनेट पर मिलेगा. Anyway, he is with us on the show after the break where he talks about The Archies, Zoya Akhtar's film and a lot more. Welcome back to Now Showing. I'm Atika Farooqui. Javed Akhtar played an important role when Indian Parliament made amendments to the copyright law in the year 2012. Since then, Indian Performing Rights Society has come a long way and now have become 4th largest society by revenue in the Asia Pacific region. And up next, we have everyone's favorite, Javed Akhtar Saab, in conversation with my colleague Vishal Chatkara about rights of songwriters and music composers and writing songs for the film Kal Ho Na Ho, that is completing 20 years later this month on 28th November.
Javed sir, you're really a hero, someone who fights for the well-being of the music community. I just want to tell everybody that in the year 2010, few producers put a ban on you because you demanded royalty for the lyricists and music composers for their work, and you succeeded in your efforts when Parliament approved amendments to the Copyright Act in the year 2012. And now, according to SISAC Global Collection Report, IPRS is ranked as the 4th largest society by revenue in the Asia Pacific region. Your efforts are really paying off, sir. You're the chairman of IPRS. You all have come a long way. How do you see this evolution of IPRS as a body responsible for collecting royalties for the musicians?
Thank you very much for this compliment. But in all honesty, I must tell you that I could manage to do it because of 2 reasons. One, the whole music industry of India was united and together, and they were willing to go to any extent to help me. One. Another, I was fortunate enough that the president had nominated me for Rajya Sabha, so I had tremendous access with every political party, every big leader, ministers, opposition, so on. So perhaps so many things happened together, and the right cards were dealt somehow that we achieved our goal. IPRS, which is a society of writers and composers, we were making something like per annum around 40-45 crore. We took over this society in 2017. From 45 crores, we have reached 565 crores this year. If we keep focusing and trying the way we have been doing for the last 4-5 years, in 2-3 years, maybe 4 years, we will cross 1,000 crores.
Sir, do you think songwriters are like that fine wine who become better with age? I mean, the biggest example is your song from the film Archies. I really like the song Wawa Voom. It's really complementing the fabric of the film. Do you think writing gets better with age?
No, not necessarily. Actually, I believe that suppose you are 50, although you are not 50, you are much younger than that. So I'm just giving you an example. If you are only 50, then you are 1 year old, that is 50 years old. Actually, ideally, the 10-year-old boy, the 15-year-old boy, the 25-year-old young man, the 30-year-old man, the 40-year-old matured man, all of them should be alive in you. And they should be at your beck and call. So I think I am 78, but these songs of Archies are written by that 15-year-old boy who is still alive in me.
How do you see the state of Hindi film songs today? This year is about to finish, and the only song that stood out are Beshram Rang from Pathan or maybe Chalya from Jawan. Why Hindi film songs have become so uninspirational? I mean, most of the songs which are coming out, even in the indie space, sounds like clones of each other.
That's true. That is sadly, I must accept it's a fact, but I will not blame the songwriters at all. The problem is when the marketing departments get hold and control of the creativity suffers. There are many things which are not in their favor. One, the new generation of directors was brought up on Western or maybe continental cinema. They are a bit shy and awkward about the lip sync songs. Live tempo has increased, so it is inevitable that the music tempos will also increase. But the tempo has become rather frantic. There was a time when characters would share their agony or sense of loneliness or hurt or deprivation with the audience through a song. That has gone. If at all there is a song, there is a background. Today, there is a desperate desire to turn every song into a chartbuster. Today's songwriter is working under a great handicap. He's not challenged.
The other film of yours, which is completing 20 years later this month in November, is your film called Kalona Ho.
Yes.
Each song in that album is very hummable and has that everlasting quality to it. You, of course, took some days to write the title track of the film. May I please request you, sir, to maybe today jog your memory and give us an insight into the how was it writing songs to that tune?
And that song was a kind of a spine of that script, and obviously it was given that dignity within the script, and it would come at different situations. It was a great tune. I remember very clearly that we had decided, Karan decided that all of us will go to Pune, stay in a particular hotel, and work on the music. I reached there one day late, so I went to the suite, which was turned into a kind of a recording theatre, and Shankar Ishaan were working there. So I entered and I said, all right, give me the tune. And they played this tune to me. And I said, I will not write the song to this tune now, because I know that I'll have to stand up on my toes to be able to write words which will come near this tune. So then, with certain reverence and love and effort, I read that song. So that song was not written in 9 minutes, that's for sure. It took time. And then there were different stanzas for different situations.
With that, we've come to the end of this week's episode of Now Showing. We will see you again with more reviews and interviews and recommendations in the next episode of this show. Till then, it's goodbye and thank you for watching.